All right, class. So today we are learning about our conversion factors, taking what we learned in our lesson and some simple math that we learned in grade school to double our recipe for M&M cookies here. All right. I already have one started here for you, but let's go over how I got to that number, okay? So we have a nice little conversion table here to kind of help us out with some of those measurements. But this we can So we know from our three-step conversion factor that first we have to see by how much we're multiplying. So we know that we are doubling. First ingredient there, we have our 3/4 cup of flour. Okay, we know that we're doubling, so we're going to multiply that by 2, 2 over 1 to make our simple fraction. Okay, what does that equal? All right, well that equals 6/4. Okay. Well, we know that there's no measuring cups that are 6/4, so how do we find out exactly what we need for our recipe? Think about it this way. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 quarters. Okay, looks a little bit more manageable, right? Well, we know from previous that 4/4 or 4/1 equals 1 cup, right? 4 to 4 equals 1, right? So what do we got? We got 2 left over here. So that tells us that that's a half a cup, right? 2, 4 equals 1/2. Okay, so that tells me that I need 1 and 1/2 cups of flour. Awesome, we got the first one. So now we see the next two both have 1/4 teaspoon. So we know 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, right? Okay, so we have our 1/4. We know that we are doubling that, timesing it by 2. All right, what does that give us? That gives us 2/4. Simplify that down. What does 2/4 give us? 1/2. Awesome. So now we know that for both baking soda and salt, we need a half a teaspoon. Okay, writing it down as we go, making sure everything is correct so we get our right yield. All right, let's go down to 2 tablespoons of sugar. All right, well, we know you could double that and do 4 tablespoons of sugar, right? But what does 4 tablespoons equal? Well, pretty nice for us. We already have this conversion factor right here. 4 tablespoons equals 1/4 cup. We don't even have to do any math on that. The answer is already given for us. Nice. Okay, let's go down to 6 tablespoons of brown sugar. Okay, so we know we have 6 tablespoons, timesing that by 2. That gives us 12 tablespoons. All right, I can look at my conversion factor here. What does 12 tablespoons give us? 3/4 a cup. All right. Moving right along. We're already halfway through. Okay, what is next? So we have 2 tablespoons. Okay, so let's start with that one first. So we have 2 tablespoons times 2, 4 tablespoons, right? All right, we know we also need 2 teaspoons times 2, 4 teaspoons. Okay, so now we see that we need 4 tablespoons and 4 teaspoons. Okay, well, we see down here that 3 teaspoons equals 1 tablespoon. So what does that tell me? So my 4 teaspoons, all right, I can just take 3 of those out, add that to this guy. So I know that I need 5 tablespoons, and we got this 1 left over, plus 1 teaspoon, right? Okay, do we see that anywhere in our conversion charts? We sure do. 5 tablespoons plus 1 teaspoon gives us a 1/3 cup. So we know for our shortening, we need 1/3 cup. Right on, you guys got this. Perfect. So we also see that we need the same thing for our butter. 2 teaspoons plus 2 tablespoons doubled equals 1/3 cup. Right? 4 teaspoons, 4 tablespoons equals 5 tablespoons and 1 teaspoon. And that gives us our 1/3 cup. Awesome. Well, the half teaspoon of vanilla, we know that one, right? 1/2. What does that give us? Equals 1, right? Simple math. We could tell that even probably from just looking at that. We're just going to need 1 straight teaspoon of vanilla. All right. Now how about these eggs? So it calls for 2 tablespoons of eggs beaten. Now I don't know about you, but how many of us actually go through and measure out tablespoons of eggs? I personally don't tend to do that very often, nor have I really ever. But I do know that on average there is about 4 tablespoons in an egg, in 1 egg. So from my culinary knowledge, that tells me already if I need to double 2 tablespoons of eggs, I know that there's about 4 in 1. That means that I probably just need 1 whole egg. All right, so for that, I can just write 1 each. I know I need 1 whole egg. All right, so if you didn't know that before, average size egg equals 4 tablespoons. All right. So now I know that I need my 1/3 cup of M&M. All right, so we have our 1/3 times 2 because we're doubling. All right, what does that give us? 2/3. All right, easy enough. So now we know that we need 2/3 cups of M&Ms. Okay, so we have all our math done. We have doubled our ingredients. We have written down all of our new measurements, so we know exactly what we need. So now we can move on to our recipe. Let's start getting cooking, right? Great job. So first, we know, we've heard me say it a million times, the most important part of getting ready is our mise en place, okay? So we see what measurements we need, we have that already out. So now we're going to look at what we learned in our previous lesson on using our baking recipes, read our instructions, and see what we need to do ahead of time. All right, so I know that I need to preheat my oven to 350 degrees. All right, so I've already gone ahead and done that. Now I know that I'm doubling the recipe, so I'm probably going to need 2 baking sheets. And genuinely, when you're baking something in your oven, unless it calls for it otherwise, it's kind of accounting for that to be the only thing in the oven. It has the air circulating, it's counting for that temp and that time to cook. So for me personally, I know that I need to bake at least 2 trays of cookies. So in my step kitchen, I am so fortunate to have 2 ovens, so I have 2 of them preheated at 350 degrees. If we don't have that at home, you're going to need to cook it in batches. All right, if you put both batches of your cookies in right away, they're not going to turn out in the 9 to 11 minutes that you're looking for. They're not going to get the proper air circulation, and then we're going to have to cook them for longer. All right. So my next step is it tells me to prepare a cookie sheet with parchment paper or cooking spray. All right. I know that I'm making 2 batches, so I have that already prepared for myself. Okay. And I see that I'm going to be needing to sift together my dry ingredients, my flour, my baking soda, and my salt. All right, so I went ahead and got all of my ingredients out that I'm going to need. I have all of their individual measuring tools with them, right, because we don't want to cross-contaminate, but nor do we want to have to keep going back into our kitchen to find, all the little random spoons and cups that we're going to be needing. So taking that second to really look over your recipe, find everything that you need ahead of time, sets you up for success in the long run. All right, so that tells me that I need a medium bowl. All right, and we're going to sift together our dry ingredients. So I know I'm going to be sifting, so I just put my sifter right on top of my bowl now to catch any mess that may fall through. All right, but we know we need our flour first. So we have 1.5 cups. Now remember, it's important to measure everything accurately, and we want our flour to stay nice and fluffy. And if we put our scoop in, our cup, measuring cup, and right down into it, it can pack it down and give us more flour than what we want. So as always, I use a spoon to fill up my measuring cup, overflowing, not packing it down. And then using a knife or a leveling tool, just go across the top, put in the excess, right back into the bowl where it came from. Nice full cup, right into my sifter. Okay. Now my measuring cups only had a 1/4 cup, not a half one, and we know that we need a 1/2 cup as well, so I'm going to be doing this twice. Right? 2/4 equal a 1/2. Alright, overflowing, leveling up, 1/4 in. And 2/4. Alright, so I have my 1.5 cup flour. Putting that away because I know I don't need any more. Okay, we also need our baking soda and salt. Alright, we know from our math that we need our 1/2 teaspoon of each. Okay. So this one, I have my perfect measuring tool and I know that I'm not using it for anything else. And this one won't compact like flour, so I know I can scoop it on in. Still use my leveler, make sure it is nice and flat, only getting the amount that we need. Nice and full. Right to the sifter. I am done with that one, so I can put it aside. I am not using that for anything else. Alright, we need our 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Got my 1/2 teaspoon specifically for my salt here. Make sure that's a nice full. Level it up, and done with that. Heating up as we go. Alright, so now I know that I just have to sit that and set it aside. Sifting in, making sure we get rid of any clumps. Not only that, but it helps to ensure that all of these ingredients are thoroughly mixed together. See, I got some clumps down in there. Tap them, see if we can't break them down a little bit. But see, we could have had those huge clumps of flour in our recipe. So good thing we sifted, right? Okay, so now this tells me I can just go ahead and set it aside. Okay, so next I see that I need to cream my butter, shortening, and sugars. Okay, so that tells me that I'm not just mixing, but I need to cream them. So we're going to be putting them in a stand mixer. Alright, for this recipe in particular, we're going to be using a paddle attachment, which I'm going to show you. Standing mixers also do have whisk attachments, but those are more for things that you're trying to make fluffy, like whipped cream or egg whites or something like that. So I'll show you the attachment once we bring it over to the bowl, but this one in particular, when it comes to creaming, we're going to be using our paddle. Alright, so I know that for my butter, I need a 1/3 cup. Okay. Well, what's nice for me is that my stick of butter here kind of already tells me how much I need for a 1/3 cup. But remember from our last week recipe that it's not always 100% exact. Okay, so we know that for the 1/3 cup, all right, it's about 4 tablespoons plus 2 teaspoons. We got our 4 tablespoons here. All right, we know that 3 teaspoons equal a tablespoon. Okay, so we're going to need 1 more tablespoon, and then we're going to need 1 teaspoon. Okay, so 1/3 cup measurement is here, but I know that I'm going to need at least 5 tablespoons plus 1 teaspoon. We're going to do our best to guess on that. If we wanted to, we could press this down into a cup as well. But seeing as we want our butter softened and not melted, I'm not going to put this in a microwave to melt it down to make sure we have the exact amount. Because if it's melted, we get more of that liquid, and that'll probably start activating the ingredients like our baking soda quicker than we're looking for, right? It won't give us the proper texture that we're looking for in our cookies. It might be a little bit brown or a little soft, a little more chewy. There are definitely cookie recipes that call for melted butter, and you are all fully permission to try those, but for this one in particular, we just need our butter softened. Alright, so we have our 1/3 cup of butter. Now we also know that we need 1/3 cup of shortening. Okay, so I got my own spoon for the shortening, so I know that I'm not doing any cross-contamination. And for this one, you really want to make sure that you're getting that full cup. So as I'm scooping it in, pressing it down so I know that all the nooks and crannies, little air pockets, are going to be full in here. Okay. Pressing that down. Alright, using my spoon, level that off and put any extra right back into our shortening. I'm not using my leveler, right, because I just use that for my dry ingredients, and we don't want to cross-contaminate. So we got our nice full 1/3 cup of shortening, using that same spoon to get it into our bowl. All of it. Measuring cup. Good on that one. Shortening away. So now we need our sugars. Sugar in plural. Alright, so we see from our recipe that we need 1/4 cup of sugar. Alright. Well, I know with sugar it is not healthy, and it is okay if I use my little scoop because I'm not using this for anything else, nor has it touched anything else. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and take my 1/4 cup, right on in there, get a nice full measurement, level that off in the bowl it goes. Alright, 1/4 cup of sugar. Now what's the difference between this granulated sugar that we have here and our brown sugar? Why do we need both? Well, brown sugar, class, is granulated sugar, but they've just added molasses to it, right? So that's what all that good, yummy, caramelized flavors is our molasses. My brown sugar is a little bit hard here, so I'm going to use my kind of scoop it out. We really want to make sure that we get the right amount. Now with brown sugar, this is one of those ingredients that you really do want to pack down, okay? So getting it all nice packed down, filling that up, you know. I'm going to go grab one more spoon. This one's a little hard, which can happen if you let air get into your brown sugar. It doesn't mean that it's bad. It doesn't mean that you can't use it. It just means that you have to loosen up those little granules in there, okay? So I'm going to grab a spoon to do so. Alright, class. Well, sometimes things don't go according how we want them to, but that sugar was a little bit more far gone than I am willing to use for my cookies, so I went and grabbed a fresh one. But what's cool about this is I get to show you another trick. Alright, so if we have our brown sugar in our container, we can use our measuring cup and kind of scoop it in, fill it, pack it down, and then use the side of the measuring container to help you further pack it. But what's nice is when you are starting with a fresh bag like this, you can almost kind of use the outside of the bag in your hand like a glove to help it. So I can take my clean 1/4 cup in here because I know I need my 3/4 cups of brown sugar, but I only have a 1/4 cup, so I'm going to have to do this 3 times, okay? So I can take it, really use my fingers on the outside to pack it in, and then I can even use my finger on the outside to help level it down. So now I have a perfectly packed 1/4 cup of brown sugar, and I can put it right into my bowl. Alright, and you'll know that you packed it well enough when it kind of holds its shape from the cup once you put it in there. Kind of fun, right? So let's do that 2 more times to make sure we get our full 3/4 cups of brown sugar. Right, I'm not contaminating anything. My fingers are staying on the outside. Just really packing it on in, leveling it down. Right, another perfect one. Into the bowl. Okay, one more time. And you know, if you do ever come across that brown sugar that was kind of too hard and was no longer sticking together, you can take like a little shaker cup or a little cup of hot water, put it on in there, and the condensation from that should help it come back to life. But sometimes our ingredients are just a little too far gone, and that's why it's important to really seal these airtight. Alright, so I'm going to go find a chip clip to really, or you can use a twist tie to make sure that the sugar is going to stay airtight for the next time I want to use it. Okay. Alright, so we got our 3/4 cup of sugar. Tells us that we are going to go cream that. So let's bring this on over to our mixer. All right. All right, so I have my paddle attachment. That's what I was talking about. This is the one that we want to use when it comes to cookies. If we're making something light and fluffy, we use something like this. That's a little wire whisk attachment. See it? That helps to incorporate air. That's all we're looking for today. All right, so my instructions tell us that we are creaming our butter, our shortening, and our sugars together. So, go ahead and put that. That went up a little too high. Got excited. We don't want to lose those ingredients. So it's not telling us to mix till thoroughly combined. It's telling us to make sure it's creamed. Alright? So it should be well mixed together. Start to look a little nice. See how important it is to work with softened butter when you're doing this, otherwise it would take a lot more effort to mix this together. Well, that is working. I see my next instruction is that we're going to be adding our vanilla and our eggs in there once it's creamed till combined. Okay. So things are nice and mixed. I'm going to stop it there real quick. Just grab a scraper spatula. Really get alongside here. Make sure I'm not missing any ingredients on the bottom. The size of my bowl. All be thoroughly mixed. Okay. Let that keep working. Alright. So, I grabbed out a little measuring cup for my egg. So I don't want to open that right into my mixing bowl. What if I have a bad egg? What if I got a little shell in there? I want to make sure things look good before adding it to our other ingredients. No shell pieces, looking good. I know I need to add my vanilla as well, so since that egg's looking good, I can just go ahead and measure this right out. Alright. So, doing this over another surface, I'm doing this over a garbage can, so if any of it drips, it's going to the garbage can and not into my cup of eggs. Alright. So measuring 1 full teaspoon of our vanilla. Alright. Didn't miss any drops, overflowing, perfectly full. We can mix that right into it. Alright. I'm done with that. So, come back over here. Notice the difference already. It's starting to look really good. I can still see some granules in there, so we're just going to let it go a little bit longer. And then we will add our eggs and our vanilla. Remembering once again that this is a machine. Its job is to mix, chop, and blend things until it can't anymore. So anytime that we're adding something to it or stirring the bowl, making sure that our hands are not completely turned off. And down the sides, make sure all ingredients are incorporated. Get stuff off our paddle that we need in there. Sugar, butter, hiding up here. Leaving my special off with the paddle. There we go. Almost mixed a few chunks of brown sugar. And then you want to let that go for about a minute or so. Looking pretty good to me. So now I'm going to turn that off. Alright, not adding anything while it's running. And I'm going to add my egg and my vanilla right on in. Bring that back up. Beating that again until it's combined. some of that batter down from the side. Everything can get mixed with that egg and vanilla. Oh, that's looking good. Alright, looks nice and cream of consistency we're looking for. Everything has been thoroughly combined. I don't see any little pockets of eggs or vanilla. Good. You know what? On this side of my kettle, I see a little bit of brown sugar. So I'm going to scrape that off both sides. One more time, get around to the end, all the way down to the bottom. Okay. Oh, silly me, forgot to put my bowl up. There you go. Now that's looking good. Okay. So I'm going to take my attachment off here. Pull off. I'm just going to scrape any of that batter off of our paddle into the bowl. We want all of that in our cookies. Not in a landfill or a waste, right? And I know, although it looks delicious, unfortunately we are working with raw eggs now, so it is no longer an edible batter. Unless you're willing to risk it, of course. But I am not. Salmonella is no joke. Okay, so now I see that I can, using a spatula or wooden spoon, stir in my flour mixture until creamed. Alright, or into the creamed mixture. It doesn't tell me I have to do it slowly. So I'm going to go ahead and add it all in. Alright, and notice the instructions do not say mixing, blending, or anything like that. We don't want to overwork our flour, overwork that gluten, giving us a tough, chewy cookie. It's just telling us to mix until combined. So not mixing too much, not going crazy, just going all the way around the bowl, mixing the dry into our wet until it is just combined. Alright, that's starting to resemble some cookie dough, isn't it? Coming around the edges, getting the flour stuck. Getting a little arm workout in. Okay. Don't see any pockets of flour. Looking nice and mixed. So my next step tells me, a little fun part, now we get to mix in some M&Ms. Alright, recipe telling me I need 2/3 cups of M&Ms. I am using mini M&Ms today, but it's kind of mid-November. We might have some Halloween candy left over. Maybe we use M&Ms that we got trick-or-treating. Right? Maybe we use, I don't know, peanut butter. Maybe use Reese's peanut butter cups. I don't know. What would you guys put in there? I like these mini M&Ms. I got my full 2/3 cup here. I think they're cute. And small little bite of M&M in each cookie, right? That guy up with save it for later. Maybe make some cookies. Just stir those on in. What else can we put in here? Maybe some chocolate chips. Maybe some nuts. This is the part of the recipe where you get to get creative. and whatever sounds good to you. You're the one eating it after all, right? Sure. Stir that nicely so there's a little bit of M&M each part of my cookie. Right, I'm not mixing this in the mixer because I don't want my M&Ms to break up. I want those whole cute little chunks in there. All right. Looks nice and mixed to me. So next step, we are going to take our pre-lined cookie sheets. I'm going to start with one here. Now mine are pretty big, so we'll see how many we can. Looking for about 15 to 20 cookies. All right. So now I'm going to use a little scoop so I can get nice even sized cookies out of mine. All right. The recipes tell us that we are looking for about 1.5 to 2.5 tablespoon portions. You could do a little smaller or a little larger than a golf ball. All right, dropping that down onto our prepared baking sheets, making sure that we're leaving at least an inch or two because when they cook, they're gonna, come shallow and they're gonna flatten out, and we don't want them to touch each other. We know cookies spread out a little when they're cooking, so we want to make sure. I'm just using my clean palm to kind of make sure I have a nice rounded scoop. So we'll leave at least an inch or so between each cookie and the edge. Right up to each other. Yay. A little bit of M&M in each bite. Room. Now we know that we're going to be cooking these for about 9 to 11 minutes. So when we put these in, we're going to set our timer for 9 minutes and then check on them. See if they need some more time, if they're ready to go. Alright, we don't want to overcook our cookies. If you don't have one of these scoops at home, you can use your hands, maybe roll some out after we wash them. We can maybe use a couple spoons together to kind of help scoop it out, getting about a tablespoon's worth of options. I think the scoop just makes nice quick work. Okay, first batch done. And second cookie sheet out. And I'm just going to leave that quick, and then we will pop them in the oven. Alright, went ahead and did a quick check to make sure my ovens were at 350 degrees. They're looking good. Alright, remember how we talked about if we doubled our math correctly, we're looking for about 15 to 20 cookies? Well guys, look at 3, 6, 9, 10. I got 19 cookies. 15 to 20, I got one shy of 20, so I'd say we did our math correctly. All right, so we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna pop these guys in the oven. Tray 1, tray 2. All right, let's set our timer. Come on. You don't want that many minutes. Wasn't listening to me. Here we go. All right. Got our timer set for 9 minutes. We're going to check those cookies once that's done. Otherwise, we're going to get ourselves cleaned up and then we'll come back and check on them. All right, my timer went off, so real quick, guys, we're going to do a little check to see if they're ready or if they need some more time. All right, they're looking delicious. pull it up here. Bring you in the oven with me, as you can see. Okay, so I'm taking my little spatula, lifting it up a little bit. See how the cookie's kind of folding like that? That means it needs a little bit more time. You should be able to kind of lift it like that, and the whole cookie would go. Since it has that little bit of a folding bed, it means a little too soft, so a couple more minutes it is. All right, class. Now it's time for the hard part. The wait. Just kidding. Hard part for me, because these cookies look delicious. I want to dive in and eat them. All right. So we see, according to our instructions, that once we take them out, we know they're all nice and done. You can see a couple of mine touched. That's okay. We're only human. It's what it matters, what it tastes like, right? So what's important is we let these cool on our baking sheets for 2 to 3 minutes, because what that does, if you look underneath here, it's kind of help cooking the bottom of our cookie, letting it that nice golden brown color, just finishing off the cooking that it did from the oven. The top of it's still taking its nice golden hue here. It's not continuing to cook. We just want that nice crispy, chewy, golden brown underneath, that texture, that flavor that we're looking for. So we let it finish cooking on the warm baking sheet for a couple, 3 minutes, and then we move that over to a cooling rack to finish cooling, okay? Because we don't want to take these cookies straight from the rack and put them into, you know, a plastic bag, a container, or something like that. Because if we don't let them cool down to room temperature and we put them in an airtight container, it's going to give off steam, and that beautiful golden bottom that we were looking for, oops, clean surface, that's all right, will become soggy. I don't know about you, but I definitely do not want a soggy cookie, especially if I just did all that hard work of doing the math, doubling the recipe, mixing everything together. I want the perfect cookie. Oh my gosh. It smells and looks so awesome. I can tell that it's perfectly cooked all the way through. I know that if I break this apart, it's going to be nice, soft, and gooey in the middle. And a little crispy, crunchy texture on the bottom that I love. All right. So now I just have to be patient and let these sit at room temperature until they come down to room temperature, and then I can go ahead and store them. Oops. I can go ahead and store them in an airtight container so they will stay fresh and delicious for whenever I'm ready. I mean, and that's saying that there's going to be many cookies left over to be put in our container, right? I'll apologize for that camera view. I got too excited bringing them over to the cooling rack that you didn't get to see much of that. But that is it. You have now used our conversion factor, doubled your recipe, made almost 20 cookies, and now you get the reward. Enjoy.